Good morning, everyone, and welcome to TourismTechnology.com's webinar, Twitter and Tourism 102. My name is Melissa Ennis, and I'm the Technology Coordinator at Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador here in St. John's. We're very pleased you could join us today, and I would like to acknowledge participation from our partners on this project, the provinces of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland and Labrador, and the tourism industry associations of each province, including the Tourism Industry Association of New Brunswick, the Tourism Industry Association of Prince Edward Island, and Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador, and of course Tourism Atlantic, ACOA. The aim of the TourismTechnology.com program is to empower tourism operators in Atlantic Canada to improve their competitiveness by effectively using online technology. We provide operators with the skills, knowledge, and expertise to take advantage of current online tools and resources and offer one-on-one mentoring, workshops, and tutorials, all ranging from basic to advanced levels of learning. If you're following along online today, please feel free to tweet or post using the hashtag TourismTech. I would like to acknowledge my colleagues in New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island who are on the webinar today, Allison Clark of TaiPai, and Mehmet Yunli with ChaiNB. Today, myself and Allison will be talking about incorporating Twitter into your online content strategy, the various ways you can share content, and how you can generate new ideas for Twitter. We'll also talk about some best practices for sharing good content and increasing reach and engagement on Twitter. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, we're here today to talk about Twitter content, and hopefully our aim is to answer the age-old question, what should I tweet about? This is a question that plagues many of us when it comes to social media platforms, especially if you're posting or managing a platform as a business or an organization. We'll talk about incorporating Twitter into your overall online content strategy, and then we'll clue up with some best practices for reach and engagement on the platform. The first thing I want to do is start with a quick refresh about the Twitter platform. This is the Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador Twitter profile, and I want to point out some important parts of it. You'll notice the branded cover photo and profile picture that's consistent across all of our social media channels and in line with our brand that we try to project online. And on the header bar there, you'll see some different stats about your Twitter profile, including the number of people you follow, the number of people that follow you, and the list of tweets that you've liked. A lot of people don't realize, but when you hit the little heart on a tweet and you like that tweet, it's almost the same as bookmarking it, and you can go to your profile and find the list of all the tweets that you've liked for reference later. You'll see here on the screen the original tweet from Juanita Ford, who's a manager here at Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador. Juanita was tweeting about attending an event in the tourism industry here in St. John's a couple of weeks ago. You'll also notice that Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador then retweeted and added our own quote to that tweet. We also included some relevant hashtags that were, of course, relevant to what we were actually saying in the tweet and help increase our exposure on that tweet. One other thing I'd like to point out, it may be small on your screens, but right at the beginning of Hospitality NL's tweet, we started by mentioning Juanita Ford. But right before that, you'll see a period in front of the @ symbol. We did this because when you start a tweet with the @ symbol and you mention another account, Twitter recognizes that as a reply directly to that account. And the only people who see that tweet are people who follow both Hospitality NL and Juanita Ford. So to kind of bypass that, a little trick of the trade is to put a period in front of the @ symbol. Therefore, you're not starting the tweet with a mention, and everybody can see it. So that's just a little tip that we have. And I'll also point out the reply, retweet, and like button. So that was just a very quick, brief overview of the Twitter platform and the anatomy of a tweet. Last spring, we did Twitter and Tourism 101 as a webinar, and that really got into the weeds and details of the Twitter platform and how to use it and all the different buzzwords and whatnot that are used on the platform. So if you're interested in a quick refresh about Twitter and using it in your tourism business, I'd encourage you to go to the tourismtechnology.com resource library and check out the recording of the webinar from last spring, Twitter and Tourism 101. So today we're here to talk about content strategy on Twitter. And your overall content strategy refers to your plan for managing and sharing content across all platforms, on whether it be social media or your website or a blog. Whether you have something official written on paper or you simply have put some thought into it, everyone should have an online content strategy that guides the content they share. For those of you who don't have a written social media or content strategy, I would definitely recommend putting some thought into one, as you're more likely to make better marketing decisions and stick to a plan or a strategy when you have it written down. Depending which platform you're posting on and what audience you're reaching there, your content might differ. Sometimes only slightly, but sometimes it can be completely different across channels. For those of us who manage Twitter profiles and Facebook profiles, there may be some conversations and some posts that we would be comfortable with sharing on Twitter, but we might not share those same things on Facebook, mainly because the platform is different and the audience we're reaching is different. So the question is, where does Twitter fit into your overall content strategy? When incorporating Twitter into that content strategy, the first thing you should think about is what your objectives are for that platform. How can Twitter help your business? And there are a number of ways that the Twitter platform specifically can help you drive your business objectives. Twitter is great for generating leads. Everything you send out on Twitter can drive traffic to your website. Building awareness of your brand in general, or maybe a new product or service that your company is offering. Twitter is really great for building positive opinion about your brand, products, and services because you're participating in a lot of times very positive conversation that other people are witnessing, and it really helps you build the brand awareness and positive opinion. You can build a community on Twitter of like-minded people that help you generate ideas, be innovative, and add to your overall marketing strategy. On Twitter, a lot of times, you're not just speaking to potential guests that could be visiting your establishment and potential customers, but also your industry peers and colleagues, other people in the tourism industry and influencers in the industry, and creating a community of tourism followers. Twitter is really great for providing customer support. You're oftentimes having good conversations on Twitter, and it's easy enough on this platform to go back and forth and help people solve some problems. And lastly, build thought leadership, like I said, because you can create a business community on Twitter outside of reaching and communicating with your guests, then you're able to really provide a venue where yourself and other like-minded people in the tourism industry can have business-based conversations. Your target audience on Twitter. You really have, before setting your objectives, you have to think about who you're reaching on Twitter, that target audience that will be listening to your conversation on Twitter, and whether or not it differs from your audience on Facebook, for example. I have some stats about the Twitter platform. As of March 2016, Twitter had over 80 million monthly users. 23% of all internet users use Twitter. 37% of Twitter users are aged 18 to 29. 25% of Twitter users are aged 30 to 49. 50% of users visit or shop at the website of a small or medium-sized business that they follow on Twitter. And 60% of users make a purchase because of something they saw on Twitter. If you've seen stats for more mature platforms such as Facebook or even very new platforms like Instagram or Snapchat, you'll see how they differ from Twitter, who's kind of in the middle of the road there. And like I said, the conversations that happen on Twitter can be very different from the conversation you'd be having on Facebook. Everybody wants to know what the best times to tweet are. What's the best time of day to send my tweet out so that the most people are going to see it or the most people are going to engage in it? So there's plenty of research online that shows that the average lifespan of a tweet is only 18 minutes. Not very long at all. So with this in mind, it's easy to see how your content strategy would differ on Twitter as opposed to other networks like it does on Facebook. For example, on Facebook, you're often worried about not overwhelming followers with too much content, posting too often, and starting to annoy your followers, or repeating content. Whereas on Twitter, since your tweets only have a lifespan of approximately 18 minutes, it's okay to tweet a lot more often, and it's generally acceptable to repeat content to ensure that you're getting the most exposure on it as possible. If you do a Google search asking what the best times to tweet are, you'll probably see some mixed results. Some studies say that tweets sent in the early morning hours, like 3 o'clock in the morning, receive the most engagement. But ultimately, what it comes down to is when your followers are online and when they're most likely to engage with your content. Unfortunately for us, Twitter doesn't yet offer the detailed audience insights that Facebook does. For example, if you checked out your Insights tab on Facebook, you would see a chart. Facebook lets you know what times of day your followers are most active online. So Twitter doesn't yet offer that level of detail in their analytics. So unfortunately, it comes down to a little bit of trial and error for us when we're trying to determine answer to these questions about our followers. You want to get content ideas. Everybody struggles with the question across all social media platforms about what am I going to post about? What content am I going to share that will be relevant and engaging with my audience? So the great place about Twitter is it's not only a place to distribute your content that you already have, but also to discover new content and generate some new and innovative ideas. There's several different ways you can search for content ideas on Twitter. The main ones are to monitor industry keywords and hashtags. So if you may type in the most relevant keywords in your industry, you saw back in the earlier tweet that I showed, from hospitality, Newfoundland, and Labrador's perspective, from the industry perspective, we like to use hashtag tourism matters. It gets our message across, but also groups us together with like-minded individuals across the country and around the world, really. Searching for keywords and hashtags that are popular throughout your industry could unveil a number of discussions or articles, event announcements, all kinds of things that are happening right under your nose that you could be sharing in the discussion of. Hashtags also are going to tell you what's trending, what your target audience is looking for online, what different influencers are speaking about, and a lot more. It's also important to see what your network is sharing. Oftentimes, when you're managing social media from a business perspective, it's easy to get on there and focus completely about what you're posting, what you're putting out there to your followers, and not really thinking much about what your followers are putting back out there to people like yourself. So it's important to get on there and also explore around, see what your followers are saying, participate in their conversations, retweet some of their content. It's not always about putting out your own content or sharing from your own profile, but participating in that community. You can also look at questions your audience is asking. For example, if you see people asking a lot of questions about what to do during the off-season in your region, it'd be a really great idea for you to participate in that conversation by suggesting ideas. Whether they involve your business or not, you're still promoting your region as a tourism destination. There are lots of different types of content you can put out on Twitter. It's really great that way, that you can share text, photos, video, links, and these are the most popular ways of sharing content. Some are known to get more engagement and reach than others, which makes a lot of sense. but in general, you can embed all types of content into your tweet. So there's the very basic text tweet. It's short, sweet, simple. It's great for updates, news, quick facts, and asking your audience different questions. So I have an example here. Craig Foley is CEO of Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador, and he sent this tweet out during the Atlantic Canada Showcase back in early October. And you'll notice there's no photo, no video, or media attached to it. He did mention a couple of key accounts, and in the end, that did get him a retweet from Atlantic Canada Showcase, so he did get quite a bit of exposure on just a simple text tweet. Photos are going to enhance your message with a picture and make your tweet a little bit more impactful. They stand out more, and it's generally well known that tweets including photos or other types of media tend to get more impressions and engagement. Here's an example, and I believe Colette is on the webinar today. Colette owns a schooner inn here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and she's very active on Twitter, and of course with her guest permission, often shares photos of her guests at her B&B. So we didn't come to NL for the weather, our American guest said with a laugh. This photo for a small business B&B operator, you'll see at the bottom there got a lot of engagement, and mostly because people likely got the photo caught their attention, and so they paid attention to it, engaged with it, and it made an impression on them. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a video would speak millions. Videos integrated into your message can work wonders to put your message in front of the right audience. But it's important to remember that when you're embedding videos, to keep them short and informational and entertaining. We've already heard that the lifespan of a tweet is only 18 minutes. So when people are scanning Twitter, their news feed, they're not looking to sit down and watch a video that's going to take them 20 minutes to get through, or they really have to pay attention to. Video content on Twitter should be brief, but informational and or entertaining. This is an example from New Brunswick. On Halloween, they kind of took advantage of what was happening. You know, Halloween is a global holiday in many places. So they shared this video and took the opportunity to incorporate a little bit of culture and history from New Brunswick, but kept a playful tone in their tweet. And finally, links are great if you have a valuable piece of content that lives elsewhere, for example, a blog post or an information post on your website. And it can't be embedded into the tweet like a photo can, then a regular link will do. And it's also a good idea to include a hashtag to boost its reach and also give a clear idea of what the link is leading to. This is a good example from the Tourism Industry Association of New Brunswick, a regular news article that CTV had put out about the tourism industry across the maritime provinces. So you'll see Ty&B shared the link to that article, which wasn't their content, but some relevant content that was in the news that day, and used very good hashtag Tourism Matters and Explore New Brunswick, which are popular in the tourism industry and would have increased their exposure on that tweet. So that's a little bit about incorporating Twitter into your overall content strategy and ways you can do it. We have some best practices now, and I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague in PEI, Allison, and she's going to walk you through a few best practices for how you can get your content out on Twitter and keep it simple and short and very effective in delivering your message.
Hi everybody, it's Allison here. I'm just going to chat about some best practices for your content on Twitter and a few guidelines that will help you create great, impactful tweets. And actually most of these examples came from Twitter, so we'll just get started here. So the first example is to keep it short. A concise tweet makes an impact. Keep each tweet focused on one specific message rather than trying to communicate multiple things. So for example here we have Melissa, and her tweet is simple and it gets to the point. She tags people in it as well, which does get her some more reach. So you can see that she tagged Hospitality Newfoundland and another person as well. We also suggest that you use some visuals. Again, as Melissa said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. People love pictures. So adding a bold image, a video, a GIF to your tweets adds a touch of personality, really, and leads to higher tweet engagement. In fact, people are 3 times more likely, really, to engage with tweets that contain videos and photos. And if you're really stuck, like I get sometimes, you can't decide which photo to use, you can add up to 4 photos per tweet, which is great. And you can see here, Village Pottery is a member of TyPie, and she always puts out awesome tweets, so I grabbed one of hers. And you can see that she has added, 4 images. She's got a ton of retweets and likes, and she's also tagged quite a few people in it. So she's doing everything right in this post, and she's getting her reach that she needs, and also showcasing her great products. We also suggest to incorporate relevant hashtags as well. Hashtags are a powerful tool that allow you to expand your reach and tap into relevant conversations. So focus on keywords that are relevant to your business. Best practices really recommend using no more than 2 tags per tweet. It gets a little cluttered after that. And right here you can see hashtags really allow you to become part of an ongoing conversation. So the little emojis as well, as you can see on this, are kind of eye-catching, for me anyways. So I do recommend using those if you are comfortable with them. But as you can see, this post used great hashtags, and I got a ton of likes and retweets as well. So just as Melissa mentioned before, search for hashtags that are being used and conversations that you want to be involved in, and really just go from there. So asking questions is an effective way to interact with your audience and bring readers into the conversation and understand, your guests and your clients' opinions. Tweet open-ended questions or use Twitter polls to survey on specific responses. So I'll show you here. We have a Twitter poll that was used, and it's a great way, again, just to see, what people are interested in, what they're thinking about, and it gives you an insight you can use for your marketing plan, your strategic plan, anything like that. And questions as well are also great. Where are we? There we go. And Wendy Poplars is also a member of TyPie, and they are always asking great questions to their audience. And it can be simple as saying, what's your perfect day on the island, or, what's your favorite beach, and people can really get involved in that, and it gives great insight into your business. So retweets, mentions, and replies. Retweeting relevant content and replying to tweets are great ways to maintain a robust Twitter presence. Positive customer feedback, helpful articles, and messages that align with your business' authentic voice are all impactful content to retweet. So when in doubt, remember this rule of thumb. Your retweets reflect back on your business and should align with your purpose and your values. So this is a retweet. You can see here that this retweet is opening up a conversation and creating a relationship with a potential customer. And it's really simple to do. It doesn't have to be a long retweet or an answer. Just a quick hello, we'd love to come and have you stay with us. And it's really quite simple. And this is a mention. Points East mentioned 3 users in this post, which really increased the visibility of the post, especially if they all retweeted as well. And it's also a really great way to give a mention or a kudos to a business because it gets them seen, they see it as well on their profile, and it just really goes from there. So quotes and statistics are also great to use, and they can really, it creates a teaser for your post. So the quote needs to be precise and give idea of what this post is about. I really find that this works well if you are doing a blog and you want to give more exposure to your blog, so adding a quick teaser of what it's about or a quick sentence or two really draws people in. And statistics are the same. People love facts and figures. Use stats to support the arguments you're making in your content, and this will add credibility to your ideas. And a short stat can really get people's attention like this one as well. So what did we really learn from this? Content strategy, so you've gone over your objectives, your target audience, the best times to tweet, or an idea of the best times to tweet, how to get content ideas and content types, and best practices as well. So we went over, keep it short, use the visuals, incorporate great hashtags or relevant hashtags, use questions or run polls, retweets or replies and mentions, and quotes and stats. With all of these combined, you really can't go wrong with your Twitter content strategy. Using these and pulling them into your strategy will really help you get the replies, retweets, and likes that you need to get your profile and your values seen. So Melissa and I are available right now to answer any questions that you might have. So if you would like to unmute your line, you can, or you can ask them in the chat box as well. It's whatever you're comfortable with.
Thanks, Allison. Guys on the phone, pressing #6 will unmute your phone line if you'd like to chime in with a question. Otherwise, the chat box is a really great place to put them in. I've seen Colette from A Schooner Inn has asked, do videos take up more characters than photos? So one thing that we didn't mention here today, but that on Twitter you only have 140 characters to work with per post. It was recently announced by Twitter that adding photos to your post will no longer take up some of your very valuable space in your character allotment. So adding photos are separate now from the 140 characters that you have to tweet with. So the in terms of videos, Colette, if you're linking to a YouTube video and you put that link in the tweet, that will take up some of your characters. But if you upload the video file right to your tweet, then that shouldn't take away any of your character space.
Deborah, I see that you asked, can you explain the difference between the @ symbol and the hashtag symbol? So the @ symbol really allows you to tag a person or a business and mention them in the post, whereas the hashtag or # symbol allows you to use a certain hashtag and become involved in a conversation instead of mentioning a specific person or business.
Marion, I noticed your comment about using a third-party service like Hootsuite or Buffer. Hootsuite is a service that you can link to your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram accounts. It's almost like a platform where you can see all of your social media feeds in one place. And you can monitor hashtags that way, all of your notifications that are coming in off of all of those channels, rather than having them all open in separate windows or separate tabs. You can see them all through your Hootsuite dashboard. Hootsuite is really great for organizing your social media content, especially if you're working on more than one platform. And it's also great for scheduling and drafting some posts ahead of time so that you can get some of the real work done and then scheduling them for later in the week. It's really a great time management tool and organizational tool for social media management. If you're looking for help on gathering appropriate hashtags and accounts to mention for the B&B industry, and Marion, if I'm not mistaken, you are in New Brunswick. So perhaps, I know Mehmet from TINB is online today, and we've had chats before about this. It's really just a matter of getting on and following other people like you, colleagues and peers in the tourism industry that you're aware of, seeing if they have a Twitter profile and seeing what they're talking about, following groups like TINB or See New Brunswick or Explore NB, the hashtag. You'll really, it's a matter of getting out there and exploring what people are using and what they're talking about on Twitter, and then making note of that so that you can participate in those conversations as well.
Marcia, I see that you are asking if you can schedule tweets at this point just via Twitter without a platform. To my knowledge, you can't. You do have to use a Hootsuite or something like that, a platform in that realm. To my knowledge, you cannot just go on twitter.com and schedule like you can on Facebook.
Hopefully that's something they introduce soon.
Yes, very soon.
Rod, tagging accounts in photos. So if I'm just going to flick back here real quick to an example tweet that we had posted, you can also, in addition to using some of the characters of your tweet to tag or mention another account, you can also tag the photos. And so you can tag accounts in the photos of your tweet, and then that doesn't impact how many characters you have in the body of your tweet. So you'll see here that in the actual tweet, Suzanne tagged at Village Pottery, at PEI Craft Council, at Delta PEI, and at What's Going On PEI. She used a couple of hashtags in there as well. Right below that, you'll see the others that she tagged in the photo. Now, she did tag the same people that she tagged in the body of the tweet, which really wasn't necessary. But if you can't fit any more tags in the body of your tweet, tagging them in the photos is a really good way to let them know that they're part of this tweet and you want them to see it.
Hi, Janet. I see that you asked if you can link your Facebook posts with your Twitter posts. You can if you use Hootsuite. It does get tricky, though, because Twitter is 140 characters, I believe, so you really have to be choosy with what you're posting. You can do that if you like. Sometimes your content isn't always the same, so you do have to kind of tweak it and, do it for certain audiences. But if you do use Hootsuite, you can link them at the same time. Yeah.
So I just want to add in here on these tweets from Anne's Windy Poplars, if I'm not mistaken, the hyperlink at the end of the tweet, fb.me, indicates a link back to Facebook. So if someone were to click that link, they would go back to Anne's original post on Facebook, which is probably the same content as what she shared on Twitter. So something like this often happens when you set up your Twitter and Facebook accounts. You can choose to link them so that anytime you post on Facebook, that same content automatically goes out in a tweet on Twitter. Where you can run into trouble, and it's not pictured here, is when your post on Facebook is too long for Twitter. So you end up with a tweet that doesn't look very good. The sentence might be cut off roughly in the middle, and likely no one is going to click on that link to open up your full Facebook post and get the full impact. So linking your accounts so that they automatically share content across both platforms is a convenient way, but you really have to be mindful of how you might voice a tweet differently than you would a Facebook post, because they don't always translate as well across both platforms. Review the slide on polls and surveys. Yeah, this is, polls are relatively new to Twitter. In the last year, people have started to use polls on Twitter. And it's a really good way to increase engagement. People don't have to retweet you. They don't have to respond to you. They can just choose their answer to your question right there in the tweet, and eventually it will populate into percentages like this. So the Honorable Bardish Chagger is the Federal Minister of Small Business and Tourism with the Liberal government. So in September, World Tourism Day was an event celebrated by the tourism industry all around the world, and so she just decided to participate in that conversation using their official hashtag, WTD2016, and asking her followers how they plan to celebrate. Are they going to travel internationally, travel within Canada, participate in some of our arts and culture offerings, or our nature and wildlife? And nature and wildlife seem to win. Now, of course, you see only 13 votes there, but it can be a great way just to get a little bit of insight from your audience. It can be fun. It can be serious. Not a lot of it has to be super serious all the time, especially on Twitter.
I see Debbie is asking if you can schedule tweets in bulk on Hootsuite or if they have to be scheduled separately. I'm not 100% sure. I think they have to be all scheduled separately, but maybe Melissa, if you want to chime in on this, you can.
I'm not 100% sure on that one. If anybody out there is more familiar, I don't use Hootsuite very often myself. I use it randomly to schedule some tweets when I'm not available to send them myself. But if anybody on the line is more familiar with the Hootsuite platform, feel free to chime in on that one.
I'd like to thank everybody for joining the webinar today. If you're wondering what your next learning steps might be following this presentation, there are a lot of options available to you simply by contacting your Provincial Tourism Industry Association. We'd be happy to help you determine your next steps, whether it be one-on-one mentoring, further workshops or training opportunities, or if you simply have a question about Twitter or your other social media platforms. There are a couple of more tourismtechnology.com webinars planned for this fall. Later this November, we'll be doing Keeping Up with Mobile Technology, and in the first week of December, we'll do Instagram for tourism businesses. So be sure to contact your TIA and register today. You will be receiving a follow-up email with some more information and resources like the ones we discussed today, as well as a link to an evaluation survey so you can provide us with any feedback that you have. Check out tourismtechnology.com for a complete list of resources, future training opportunities. And again, thank you to our project partners, the provinces of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland and Labrador, and the tourism industry associations of each province, including the Tourism Industry Association of New Brunswick, the Tourism Industry Association of Prince Edward Island, and Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador. And of course, Tourism Atlantic ACOA. Thanks again, everybody, for joining today, and we look forward to working together in the future.